Hi again, I'm Mark. I am the Amateur Cowboy, and I'm here with Molly the Mule, and continuing to work with this mule on a couple things. Number one is appropriate response to pressure, and that's something that we always want to see in our horses and our mules. So what does that mean? It means that they don't push into pressure. It means that they'll respond willingly to pressure, and typically the better we get, the less it takes. So right now I'm just asking her to stay straight and to go backwards. Now she's pushing into that. You see that? So there's a little bit of an opposition reflex there. The other thing I'm working with this mule, and is very closely related to appropriate response to pressure, but is getting her comfortable with having her feet handled. She kicked the farrier the other day with a right hind, and so I want to just talk a little bit today about some techniques that you can do to get the horse confident with having their feet handled, as well as building your own confidence. Now, number one is I want the animal calm, right? If they're afraid, then that's the number one problem you got to take care of right then. I wouldn't even worry about touching the feet or anything like that if they're afraid. But you can see this mule, she and I have spent some time together, and she's very calm. So what I want to do is kind of go through some phases here, if you will, of getting this mule comfortable with me being down around those feet. So first of all, can I touch her with this stick without her responding in a negative fashion? Now, I really shouldn't just focus on the feet. You want to be able to do this everywhere with all of your horses and mules. And with her, she's pretty good. I've been working with her a little bit on this. And then what I can do is come back here. I like to work from the withers here. It's kind of a zone of comfort for the animal. And can I come down here and touch the hind legs as well? And you can see really not getting much of a response. The ears are focused on the back. They're kind of like what's going on back there, but they're not pinned. I don't see her acting like she's upset or anything. Now, we often, as humans, end up on the left side of our animals because that's where the knot for the halter is, and that's where we put the bridle on and so forth. We're typically taught to mount from the left side, but I always like to go ahead and do everything I just did from the left side, now do it from the right side of the animal, often sometimes called the off side. Now, I don't know if you saw it, but the second I went back here with this, there was a twitch. And this is a common thing with this mule, Molly, is right back in this loin area on the right side, she will sometimes twitch when I touch it. And it's something I want to be aware of. The fact that she kicked with that right hind may mean something, it may not mean something, but I don't want to ignore that. I want to keep that in mind as I'm working with her, that this is the one that on that particular day caused a problem. Okay, so I think we're pretty good there. One other thing we could do is if she were really touchy, we could use the string instead of the stick. You know, you may not believe it, but I think she could kick me from right there, where I'm standing. If she really, really wanted to, she'd find a way. So you might need to stand way up here or even further to make sure that you were safe if you had a situation with a horse or a mule where they weren't comfortable with that. And what you would do is you would just use this kind of rhythmic action until they were calm and accepting it. And I like to use an approach more of, we call it approach and retreat versus flooding. So approach and retreat is, can I get this animal to be calm with this? And then if she shows relaxation, then I'll stop. And that gives her a chance to kind of breathe and go, "Ooh, that didn't hurt me, that was fine." Flooding would be more you keep going until the animal realizes there's no escape and they're sort of, in essence, forced to accept it. Tend not to like to use flooding. So now let me go to my bucket and I'm going to grab my brush. I wasn't sure if I wanted to use that cotton lead first or the brush. I'm going to use the brush. I'm going to get her to move her feet here just because she's kind of locked up and I want her to free up her feet. Ah, girl. Yeah, here. And all I'm going to do is just kind of start with it up, in a comfort zone like this, where there are no issues, and then I'm even going to just drape this over her, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I'm just going to kind of work down here with this brush and reading her at all times so that if she gets uncomfortable, then I can make adjustments. I don't see any signs of discomfort, so I'm going to come over to the right side and do it. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to talk about the fact that she is not tied. If you tie an animal, that's 1 point of restriction. And now if you grab a leg, that's 2 points. And I think that can cause some animals to get claustrophobic. And in a case like this where she stands so well, I kind of like to just let her stand untied. That way she knows she's free. If she had to move off, if she felt that kind of pressure, she could move off, and hopefully we'd avoid any kind of issues there. So I like the front feet there. I haven't picked them up yet. I'm not asking for that. I'm just saying, let's just play this little game here where it's all about being comfortable with one another, and hopefully she likes it. You know, hopefully she learns that this is a good thing. When Mark comes down here, kind of brushes the feet, massages the legs, and so forth. Now, because she is so good, I'm just going to go ahead and walk right behind her. If I thought she'd kick, I wouldn't. I don't think she's going to kick, but I do want to be careful. Now, this is the one again. This is the one we want to really kind of take our time with and be careful with, but I think she's fine. And so now I'm just going to go ahead and get down here and get her real used to me with this soft brush, just brushing all over that thing. Now, one other comment I'll make is if you think you've got a horse or a mule that might kick, and let me just get rid of the brush here, and I'm gonna go to my cotton rope. You actually want to be closer to the animal rather than far away. I've seen before where people are kind of worried about an animal and they kind of do this, you know. It's kind of like, okay, don't kick me, don't kick me. You know, actually what you want to do, and I'm not going to do it with that hind yet, but you want to get right in there where if they did something, you've got a little bit of leverage and you're kind of, you know, close in on them. And that way it's a much harder thing for them to free that leg up and really wallop you. Not saying they can't. If they really want to, they probably can. So what am I going to do with this? Well, the first thing before I use it is I have to make sure, first of all, that she's comfortable with it. Can I rub her, you know, kind of give her a massage, let her smell it. This is a mule that really likes to smell things. She doesn't want to take a nibble there. Get her real used to it. And then can I, in order to use this, can I come down in here and safely kind of massage this area? Because what I want to do is create a loop in this rope and get it around that leg, and it will create a little minor irritant, and then I'll ask her to move and she'll have to get used to that. So you see she just jumped a little bit, but she lifted her leg, so I'm going to reward and take all pressure off. In fact, the way she lifted it was really nice because it was slow. And what I believe is that when a mule lifts their leg, or a horse, you know, either one, lifts their leg really quickly, that's a almost an involuntary response on their part. And I think that can lead to some issues, some problems, versus a nice slow controlled lift where it's their brain controlling it. So what you can see now is I've got there. I want to reward that again because she lifted it nice and slow. So I've got this loop now around this foot, and this gives me a nice safe way to practice lifting and rewarding. I don't have to get down there once I've got this on and put my life in danger. I can simply practice this, and you might practice this 100 times. It's no big deal, you know, and just reward her every time. Where are you going? So I'm going to ask again and just see how it goes now that she's been allowed to shift her feet and her balance. There, good. Now, to get to the part I want to, I'm going to get my stick again, and I'm going to grab my lead, and we're just going to ask her to move her feet around me and see how she responds to that irritant, this cotton lead on the back, that back hind. So I'm going to ask her to move. There. And full disclosure, I've probably done this with her 5 times. You know, 5 different days we've come out and I have gotten this rope around that hind or the other one, and we've done this. And you can do it with it around the front too. And every day that I do it, she responds better than the last. The first day she was, yeah, what's in the bucket? The first day she was picking that hind up real high and kind of herky-jerky, exactly the kind of response that we don't want. The way she's doing this now, where it's, you know, you really can't see a difference between the way she's picking up her right hind and the way she's picking up the left hind. So she's definitely gotten used to this irritant, as I call it, which is great. I suppose it's a form of desensitization. I don't love that word because we want our horses and our mules sensitive. Good. But in this case, I think the word fits okay. I'm going to go ahead and bring her up just a little more. Typical mule. I'm just kidding. She's gotten real good at leading up just in the last couple weeks. And she's just she's a real sweetheart to work with. She's smart. So now, as a way of taking that lead, that cotton rope off that foot, I'm going to use that as my opportunity now to go ahead and show how I might pick that foot up. So I want to get my lead coiled up here. It's kind of snowy and muddy out here, and I don't really want to drag it in the ground. So make sure, first of all, that you got a calm, comfortable animal. My hands can touch her all over. She's fine with that. And now I'm going to try to read her and just come back here and ask for this leg. And I'm going to hang in there and there. But now, did you see? It was a little herky-jerky. So I'm going to set it back down. And I'm going to ask again. And I want it slow. There. There's almost just right. Now I'm going to leg massage and make sure everything's good. I think it is. The next step in this for me, and I don't know if we're ready, but could I, if I needed to, could I step over this leg like a farrier and hold it between my legs? And I think I could, but I don't think I want to risk an injury to prove that, because the way she picked that up was just a little too quick for my liking. So I'd probably say, let's go ahead and practice for another week and get that perfect before I would take that next step of bringing that leg, you know, through my legs like this and holding it like a farrier. Maybe I could show it with one of the fronts. Let's have this leg. The fronts are a lot easier on this particular mule. I don't have a pick with me, but if I could, I would just bring it through like that. Now I can hold it and still need a little work there, as you can see. We're going to sign off. I'm Mark the Amateur Cowboy with Molly the Mule.